everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to discuss something that's been big in the news in the last couple of days, and that is that Stellantis has prevailed in its lawsuit over Durango SRT HELLCAT production claims. Now you might remember we talked about this a few times before, not just here on the channel, but also on a lot on Mopar Insiders, is that there was some 2021 Dodge Durango SRT HELLCAT owners that filed a class action lawsuit against Stellantis, or FCA US, because basically Tim Kuniskis came out and unveiled the vehicle and said that this was going to be a one-year limited production run vehicle, and they had bought those vehicles as an investment. Now, we all know the dangerous gambling games that we play when we actually buy a vehicle to kind of hold on for an investment. Some of these people paid huge markups on the vehicles, and they were upset because in 2023, Dodge decided to come out with the Durango SRT HELLCAT again. And unfortunately, it kind of wrecked some of the value of their vehicles. With that being said, let's see what the court had to say, because it's a very interesting kind of topic to talk about, because again, we've seen a lot of people kind of get burned, whether it be like the Jeep Wrangler Rubicon 392 final edition owners in 2024, and then the final edition in 2025 for that vehicle. The 2023 last call models, it doesn't matter if it's Demon 170, we've seen some people pay like well over six figures, additional figures over what their sticker price was for those vehicles, and then now like some of them are going for about $140,000. It's a risky game that you play. Even I played that game when I bought my 2023 Chrysler 300C. That car was stickered at $56,000. By the time I paid for it, it was like close to 60 without any markups whatsoever. But you figure taxes, title, and all that stuff. And then I got rid of it a year and a half later, and I sold it for $48,000. So I was kind of upside down in that deal. But that's the kind of risk that you take if you want one of these high performance, limited edition vehicles. But let's go over what the court had to find, and let's talk about what Tim Kuniskis said about this vehicle, what really stirred this whole lawsuit together. So back during the height of COVID, Dodge did a whole unveiling for their 2021 lineup. This included vehicles like the Dodge Challenger SRT Superstock, as well as the Charger HELLCAT Red Eye, and then, of course, the Durango SRT HELLCAT. Now, at that time, Tim Kuniskis, who was the Dodge CEO, basically came out and said, yes, the Durango now has the soul of a HELLCAT.
21 Durango is not just the most powerful SUV in the world, it can tow more and carry more and run a faster quarter mile time than any other SUV in the world. But you knew there was going to be a catch. Yes, the Durango now has the soul of a HELLCAT, but it's only on loan. The HELLCAT Durango will be a single model year run. When we turn the order books over to the 22 model year, the Durango HELLCAT will be gone. So you've only got one shot.
This prompted a lot of people to go out to these dealers and place orders. So much so that they were originally planning for only about 2,000 units to be built. They added an additional 1,000 units because of the demand. So a lot of people went to dealers, invested in them. As a matter of fact, right after they started taking orders of them, we've seen a bunch of them that were crashed, and people were talking about how much their value was going to go up and all this stuff because of the number that were being totaled by people just being reckless with them. Well, it didn't take long for Dodge to change their story. So in 2022, in August, they had their Dodge Speed Weeks event at M1 Concourse. And Dodge pulled basically the covers back on the 2023 Dodge Durango SRT HELLCAT.
We haven't talked about Durango. We're not leaving Durango out. If anything good came out of COVID, it gave our engineers some time to come up with a way to keep building my favorite Durango. Yep, there's still time to get the most powerful SUV ever. The Durango SRT HELLCAT is back for the 23 model year, and even though they were able to figure out how to keep building it, you all know the stories you heard about emissions, compliance, and blah, blah, blah. It is not detuned. Still 710 horsepower, 645 pound-feet of torque, and still the best-in-class towing, and most importantly, it's the most badass SUV you can buy, period. Now, I'm going to bring it down a little bit. While this ordering window is opening, there is another one that's closing. And it's really important that we need to talk about. The 23 model year Chargers and Challengers will be the last of the HEMI-powered L cars that we built.
So, again, that's what kind of spurred the whole thing, because people said, hey, this was going to be a limited one-year run. So they went out and paid huge dealer markups and stuff to get one of these vehicles, because dealers are greedy. Most dealers are, and they put huge markups on these vehicles. Then 2 model years down the road, and it's back. So, what did the court decide? And this is where it gets interesting, because this past weekend we actually got a final decision from the court, the U.S. District Court of Delaware, and U.S. District Judge Jennifer Hall rejected those claims from the owners. The ruling emphasized that automakers are allowed to talk about future plans without locking themselves into permanent obligations, especially when those plans later change due to market conditions. So again, that's kind of like what we're seeing right now. Obviously, Stellantis was kind of like going all EV for a while. We've seen that, they wanted 50% of their U.S. sales to be EVs by 2030. That wasn't going to happen. We don't have the infrastructure. There's a lot of things going on. People don't want the EVs as much as what they thought, and now people want internal combustion. So we're seeing them change even since like their 2024 statements. So again, that has to play with this. There was original demand for it. They extended the demand. Then they said it was going to be gone. And because demand was still there, they brought the product back. The court also found no evidence that FCA US or Stellantis intended to deceive customers. Just as importantly, the judge ruled out that advertising statements about production limits did not qualify as an express warranty. According to the owner's manuals or warranty booklet, only the written warranty terms count, and production volume wasn't one of them. The judge also dismissed the unjust enrichment claims, pointing out that a key reality of the dealership model is the customers don't pay Dodge or Stellantis markups directly. Okay, they pay dealers, YouTubers and stuff there's one that's actually started his own company, and he used to sell cars, and that's all he does is buy cars for people because they gets them the best reasonable deal, because he's deals with the dealers himself rather than having the people buy. So people will pay him a couple $100 to take on the dealerships and find them the car that they want without them having to deal with it. So again, it just depends on, what you're looking for and if you're willing to pay that. If you see that there's ever markups, don't pay for them. That's the thing that keeps these dealers charging markups. If you pay for these markups and people keep paying for them, they'll just keep making the price of vehicles more and more expensive. We all know how the price of vehicles have gone up over the years. So if we don't pay for those and make them sit on the lots, then they will start not charging markups. That's how it's got to be. So basically, the court ended up ruling that all 13 counts in the case, including the claims under the consumer protection laws of states like California, Texas, and New York, were dismissed. So you can go on my actual article here, and you can click this. It says clicking here. You can see the court documents. And I posted all the court documents right here so you guys can go through and read them. There's a few pages. It goes by like all the state, like what they were suing for and what kind of laws they were going after. But it goes through and basically says everything that I just said. I just kind of made it into layman's terms. So, but anyways, yeah, you can go through and read it right on Mopar Insiders. You don't have to pay for the actual documents or anything like that. You just go on here. Now, again, you're always going to take that gamble. And like I said, I took the same kind of gamble when I bought my 2023 Chrysler 300C. I figured, hey, it's going to go up in value. I seen the same thing. Some people were crashing their cars. It seemed like my car was going to go up in value. It's all based on demand, what people want. And unfortunately, at the time, the market was flooded with 2023 still on lots. And I didn't feel like paying a huge, payment at the time. So I got rid of the car. So I did take a loss. But that was my decision. So again, buying, these performance vehicles to hold on to them, it's a gamble. We've seen some vehicles that people have bought even during the 70s at the end of the muscle car era. They can hold on to them. It just depends on what the demand is. Certain vehicles we've seen, go for hardly anything. Maybe not even worth what they paid for them originally. Some vehicles we've seen, skyrocket. Just depends on the demand. So be careful when you go out and buy a performance vehicle that's supposed to be a limited run vehicle. You never know what's going to happen. So let me know down in the comments below. Do you think Stellantis was right and that they, got the right decision from the court saying that they were in favor of dismissing the whole case because Stellantis was right and they didn't violate anything? Or do you think that the owners were right that, Stellantis should have paid up because they said a one model year run vehicle? Leave your comments below. I'm curious to hear them, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.